Hello everyone, this is Arrow, and welcome back to Sundown Moon Up Podfics. Today we'll be continuing Learning to Adapt to the Fall by Supupdog. Chapter 13. Aizawa watches his husband be dragged away by an overgrown chicken. Aizawa watched as his loud blonde husband was carried out of his room by a shorter flying blonde. What has his life come to? He sighed out loud as he let his head sink into the pillow behind him. He wanted to get up and follow them, but Zashi thought more since the last time he tried to get up and got up out of bed. His legs were in full cast, but that wasn't it. His legs were also cuffed to the bed. Aizawa couldn't get up if he tried, and he tried earlier that day with no luck. He sat quietly as he started to hear yelling about a hero that was still mentally unstable got loose. Aizawa wonders if they will check in with him first before sending out a warning watch. He can't exactly hit the call nurse button with his arms, plus hands covered in casts as well. He was really tired. Maybe he should take a nap and wait till they come back. No, this anxiety about how his problem chick would keep him up anyways. Aizawa looked over at the door as nurses ran by, probably looking to see if anyone was hurt by the rampaging hawks. Hey! His voice felt like shit, since the fucking brick wall called the fucking Nomu, and now he needs to go to speech therapy. It's a bunch of bullshit. After doing this a few more times, a nurse stops and actually looks into his room with a questioning and concerned look. Aizawa just rolled his eyes. They forgot he was in here, didn't they? Hawks just went to get his ass. The male nurse just blinked back at him as if he was stupid. He's not stupid, no matter how much he is wrapped up right now. Nezu called President Mike to get him down to the Midoriya household. He told him that his chick needed him to leave, but I bet Hawks will be back soon. The nurse seemed to finally understand his words, like he translated the Japanese to English or something. They do look a bit like an American. Oh, thank you, sir. He looked at the nameplate that is beside his door. It can easily be changed out with other names, and it should only have his legal name in it because he's underground. Aizawa, sir. Thank you, Aizawa, sir. I'll tell the others, and I'm guessing to also get ready for when they return. Will Midoriya Izuku be injured coming back as well? He let out another sigh as he looked at the ceiling. This guy is a fucking idiot. Oh, I don't know, because I wasn't the one that was called. Aizawa gave the nurse a deadpan expression as they looked a bit embarrassed as they looked at his arms. He really has to tell him everything, doesn't he? Is this a new guy or something? Get ready just in case he needs immediate care, but I'll also be ready to put it all back just in case Izuku doesn't need it. The nurse perked up and nodded his head a few times, then ran off with a walkie-talkie pulled up to his mouth. Aizawa heard the distant voice tell the staff the new information as it slowly got quieter. He really needs to nap or something. He'll need to wait till they're back, though. Aizawa laid his head on the pillow again and let his eyes close softly. Resting his eyes are different from falling asleep. He still needs to make sure no one comes in, because if they do, Hawks is going to throw a fucking fit. God, Aizawa really adopted a giant territorial bird and a smaller territorial bird. Sashi was right. They now have a legal baby and a goddamn illegal baby. What the fuck has his life come to? Here are some endnotes memes. Zawa, I lay and I wait. Zawa, I lay and I wait because I am fucking cuffed. This is bullshit. Zawa listening to the staff just fully fucking panicking. The sounds of a pleasant nap being disrupted. This is so much fun. Zashi and Hawks already at the house and not knowing what's happening at the hospital. Zawa, yes, this is just fine. No one needs to check in with the guy that had the hero in his room with him. Oh, no. Zawa getting tired of the noise and using his fucked up voice. Hey. Nurse that might be an American. Yes? Zawa, dumb fucks, he will be back with child. Nurse, will child be hurt? Zawa, do I have to fucking do everything here? No, the child might be hurt, but ready for it either. Either or. Nurse. Okay, thanks. Fucking leaves. Zawa. Is this my life now? The staff, seeing a mentally unstable Hawks, burst out of the front doors, trying to think of the best way to deal with the number 3 hero going into a mentally unstable rage outside like he did inside. Thinking about trying to get Nezu to help look for him and calm him down. Wait, wasn't he carrying someone with the other blonde hero that helped him calm him down, right? The dose that won't work anymore? What is going on? A new transfer nurse. Everything is okay. Aizawa told me that Hawks is going to pick up his kid and will be right back. We need to be ready just in case they need treatment. All the other staff members. Oh, thank gods. The newbie somehow knew what to do. Zawa sneezing in his room. Is someone talking about me? Chapter 14. Nezu's working. Nezu watched as he guided his student, Hawks, who apparently sees him as an elder now, and a pack member out of the awful room. They made the rest of the way down to the second floor to get some things for Izuku, and Nezu personally went to the first floor. As soon as he touched down, people were walking past him to get to other rooms up the stairs. He looked around and still saw Nemuri, Tensei, and Rocklock in the corner of the main room. He no longer needed to act professional and use his kids' last names. Everyone knows how close he is with his staff. Well, that is Namamosa's district, that is. Nezu can clearly see how Rocklock wants to go and look around for evidence, but Tensei seems to be more worried for his friend that was still trying to calm down from that forced PTSD flashback. He decided to make his way over to them and quickly shoo Rocklock so he doesn't feel the need to help. The man would rather find every bit of dirt of these monsters that hurt his student instead of sitting around where he's probably not needed. Nemuri. He's not good with emotions. Nemuri, young pack member, was still crying, but she looked like she was dead to the world. Tensei looked at him worriedly, which makes sense. Nemuri hasn't been like this since her aunt was finally given a life sentence back after the first few years of their hero careers. Nemuri? He is not good with emotions. Nemuri, young pack member, was still crying, but she looked like she was dead to the world. Tensei looked at him worriedly, which makes sense. Nemuri hasn't been like this since her aunt had finally gotten her life sentence back after the first few years of their hero careers. Nemuri. Nezu needs to keep his voice light and extremely soft. He slightly puts out his paw, facing upwards, close to her so that she could see it while she focuses on the floor. Eyes distant, but will focus on it after he can help her out of this. He has everything memorized about all of his staff. Pack. Nothing is left for him not to know what they all know this. And they all know this. Nemuri, do you know where Sushi is? Tensei looked at him as he moved his paw side to side very slowly as he tried to get her to think of something else, anything else, because that's how you help Nemuri. Is Sushi somewhere in the room over, or is he in the living room? More talk about her cat always helped. Safe and comfortable with him, trying to get her to think of her safe den place. Tensei started to sit down close by, waiting for Nemuri to come back to them. Nezu spent some time just talking and keeping his paw in view until finally Nemuri moved to grab his paw. After some more time and talking, it looked like Nemuri was finally coming back. How what, Nemuri? How did she do that? Dad, how? Nezu slowly moved his free paw until he was finally able to wipe away some stray tears that were falling down her face. She started to cry again after asking how Inko Midoriya was able to bring her fear to the forefront, and then made it go until it gave her a flashback. How could Inko Midoriya, a woman with a quirk that doesn't work exactly like that, do that? He'll need to go over Inko's quirk registry again, and also have the detective question her about it. She will probably refuse to talk to him. Besides making sure everything else here runs smoothly, he will have to do a family background check because if he's correct, no one from either side of Midoriya's family is alive. Nemuri. Pup? Nezu slightly pulls her face up so that she can look into his eyes. red and puffy, a little bit of snot running down her nose, but she's still the beautiful young lady he taught back in the day. It's not your fault, and you don't need to worry about her quirk anymore. I will make sure that we know everything there is to know about it before she gets locked up for good. Nemory sniffed a bit as she went to grab his paw that was on her cheek to hold. How do you know that she'll be locked up for good? Nezu let his smile slide across his face. Nemory won't jump back from all this murderous rage he has for this woman. She wouldn't flinch at the absolutely crazed look of her boss/father figure. She knows that look was always made right before he made it more safe for everyone. I know because I will make sure of it, little pup. You just need to get home. You're not in the right state of mind to work right now. Nemory tried to argue that she would be fine in a little bit, but Nezu wasn't having any of that. He sent her home, and Tensei went with her because he actually wasn't that good at finding evidence. He stood by the door and waved them goodbye, and stood there until the car was out of view. Nezu, sir, are you going to help look for things? Nezu turned around to see the face of Namosa, looking rather concerned. It wouldn't shock him because, for where he's seen most of the house, it was obvious that they hide everything from sight. Yes, Namamosa, I'll start on the second floor because that was the one I saw the least of. I feel like they might have hidden more things there instead of the floor designed to basically torture my student. Namamosa nodded, then moved to the side so he could walk in. After he was done with the second floor, he's looking at the fireplace. Izuku seemed a little defensive about it. Nezu passed officers looking around for any evidence they could find, making his way to the stairs once again and looking up as he started to walk to the second floor. He noticed a rare photo here and there, but nothing major. That was until he looked at the stairway to the second floor. People say that he is very observant, so when he looks at the first wall to the left of the second floor, he sees a slight color change of the wall. It looked lighter than the rest of the walls, so he walked down the hallway and looked for any other spot that was like that, just in case it was a poor paint job. Nezu looked for any spot that was lighter, but the only spots that would look different would be covered, and those spots would look vibrant. An officer walked by him to get to Izuku's den room, looking for anything criminating, but from the quick look he got, it just seemed like they forced their quickest ways on their son. Their quirkest ways on their son. He informs one of the officers taking photos to take a picture of the whole room in general, and then have someone look for things that could go against a quirkist mindset, against mutations specifically. Nezu walked back to the beginning of the hallway where the lighter part of the wall was. He looked at all the space near it and can clearly see it's in the shape of a perfect square. Very weird if it was regular fading. He let his paw lightly run across the more faded part of the wall and felt a very small lift up. A slight shape lifted up from the wall. It felt somewhat like a button. Nezu let his claw out as he slowly traced the button shape with them, chipping off some of the paint as he went. Nezu, sir, what are you doing? He let his eyes flick to an officer that approached him from behind. They should be happy he wasn't jumpy and had great situational awareness. I know this is a very upsetting case for you, sir, but you can't damage the house. Even this little bit could mess. I am tracing a button in the wall, officer. Would you like to peel off the paint first? He looked them in the eyes as he continued to slowly get all the paint off the button-shaped area. The color here is lighter than all the other spots on the wall, and it's a perfect square shape, and if that wasn't enough, there is a slight lift that makes the shape of a button in the middle of it. He blinked a couple of times as he finally got at least half of the paint off. He didn't want to trigger whatever button could be used for. It might be a panic button. There are more people like the older Midoriyas, unfortunately, and because of that, they could probably get here if their child ever went out of control. How close the parents' bedroom is to the steps and the button also helps with this theory greatly. Nezu looked back to the area he was peeling, saw a much lighter and a little shinier color material under it. It kind of looked like plastic. He shot his eyes back to the officer that now looks a little embarrassed and gave them a big smile. This isn't my first time dealing with wealthy families hiding all their mistakes. They all love to make it so much more dramatic and expensive because normal income people wouldn't think about that. It's so far out of their left field to have a whole secret button or room in their homes. Nezu started to get the other half of the paint off the now obvious button in the wall. If only people would keep their eyes open and look better. This is also how villains think, officer. Try to get into that mindset while looking around here. They are not normal people by any means, so don't look at it as if they live normally. The officer that tried to stop him just bowed a bit and then quickly shuffled away from him. He'll let him off lightly this time. One should really not question their superiors if they know how extremely smart they are. They know him. Everyone knows him. They shouldn't automatically think he would destroy evidence or make more marks on the wall to impede or make their sentence worse. Nezu actually doesn't need to do anything to worsen their sentence because it's already abysmal. After getting all the paint off the button, he was left with the light cream color area that was surrounded by the light green wall paint. Cream is very different from the normal light green wall paint. He then started to see if his claws could lift up and remove the panel of the button. After that, he'll start to see if he can trace what the button is able to do. If that sends a signal somewhere, then he can try and look for those locations for any quirkless individuals. Initially, Nezu didn't see the two screws at the corners of the button panel, but when he finally notices, he clicks his tongue. He doesn't want to deal with unscrewing this. It can also mess up his paws and chip them. Making his claws less effective wouldn't be a good thing to do right now, so he messaged the detective, not wasting time looking for him, to get someone to open the button panel at the start of the second floor. He also mentions that it might be a panic button to contact the other-minded individuals that help control their child. Nezu stood there till someone finally made it to his spot and started to work on it. Another officer was with them that had tools used for electric work and a laptop if they needed to trace a signal. He walked down the stairs to the first floor when he was sure that they had the maybe panic button under control. Once finally making it to the ground level, he saw some people looking at the floor plan of the house. Around the chimney there is a lot of free room for no reason, and with that fact, it's in the middle of the house is extremely weird. Nezu listened into what they think it might be, a secret room or an escape route for individuals in their home, but they just don't know where they would enter it. He's been trying to keep his mind off the fact that they still couldn't find his Hizushi Midoriya. They sent Ingenium to look around the area, with some cops of course, to see where Hizushi went. He couldn't have gotten far, and with all the police waiting in the area, he couldn't just sneak away, but they couldn't find him, in or outside the house. They asked Nemory if she saw anything weird, but she was too into her PTSD to notice anything. He himself was dealing with Inka Midoriya and was making sure that misfiled quirk didn't mess with his mind like it did his pup. Nezu walked over to the living room area and saw some people having more floor plans, looking for anything out of the ordinary. Why no one was even looking at the fireplace was weird, or they already looked over it and saw nothing odd about it. He walked past different officers and crime scene investigators that were still trying to find out where Hizushi exited from. The officers are there as a just in case they find him and need to arrest him. The SITs, Special Investigation Teams, are here because that's their main job. Nezu walked over to the fireplace and looked inside. Midnight earlier was looking at it intensely, but he was too focused on reading Hizushi to look too in-depth of it. His eyes scanned the inside of the fireplace and quickly landed on a little shiny part of the back right wall, near where the two walls connect. Everything on the inside was covered in soot from the use but one spot that looked like shiny metal, when rubbed clean off from some of its soot. When he looked at it at different angles, it wasn't really shiny, so he was lucky that he was looking at the right angle for it to catch light. It would make sense because right now the ones in the room are somewhat rushing into finding where Izuku went, trying to see if they can still catch him, but by now he's long gone. The soot-covered metal handle, because that's a handle, stuck out like a sore thumb when you actually took the time to look. Nezu is about to check if it's actually officers being frantic or them being quirkless as well. If it's the latter, then only Namamosa will know what he will do to them. He stepped inside the fireplace and cleaned off the handle more, making it more clear to see. "Namamosa!" he yelled out over his shoulder as he stepped back out the fireplace again. "Excuse me, but I'm pretty sure Namamosa is in the kitchen looking for any types of illegal poisons and drugs and such. Can you get him for me?" Some of the officers nearby looked at him confused as he just pointed to the fireplace. "You boys seem to not notice the clear-as-day handle that I'm guessing leads to a secret exit, or maybe the secret room you all think is there." Nezu smiled as some nodded their head and swiftly ran out the room. He shook his head. Honestly, they all act like excited kids sometimes. Soon enough, Namamosa entered the room with some officers trailing behind him, and Rocklock also hot on his tail. "Hello, gentlemen. It seems I have found the door you have all been looking for." He pointed to the fireplace and the now easy-to-see handle, making it clear to see helps the other half of blind people, apparently. Namamosa bent down and looked into the fireplace, and his eyes grew wide as he started to order his men to get into formation with him and Rocklock. Nezu stated that he wanted to go first because he would be able to counterattack quickly if he really must. Small areas are really his best bet to fight in because of his small body and how he is easy to jump off walls. Rocklock would also be able to help. Rocklock could also help by freezing Izuku's clothes after he grabs his bearings. Even underground heroes can be caught off guard. Nezu once again stepped into the fireplace, but this time with a small army of officers and also a hero behind him to help if anything happens. "Okay, I'm going to open the entrance soon and I'll count from 3. 1, 2, 3. He flung the fireplace entrance open and was greeted by a dimly lit stairwell. Nezu looked up and he thinks he sees a room around the third floor up, but when he looked down it seemed to go for about 2 or 3 more floors before it got to the bottom. It was too dark to be sure though. "Hey Nezu, you need this?" Nezu looked over his shoulder to be given a flashlight from Rocklock. He gave a quick thanks, then turned it on. As he looked back up, he can clearly see that this hidden stairwell is well used and also looks as if it's actually used every day, unlike everywhere else in this house. "Rock, should we go down first? It seems like a secret exit, not like the steps that go upstairs." Rocklock nodded his head as he looked down the stairs. Yeah, Nezu. They most likely just did fucked up shit on the top floor, like with the other rooms up there. Why did they hide that specific room though? That's right. If the other rooms obviously have people to hurt them in, then why did they hide the one on the top of these stairs? Nezu looked up and felt a little uneasy. What was so important that they needed to hide besides an escape route? He then looked back at Namamosa to get his attention because he was just right behind Rock. "Namamosa, can a small team go upstairs and look around? I'm 100% certain Izuku is not up there because the bottom floor under the house must be an escape route of some kind. They still need to be on guard, but they shouldn't have to worry too much." He got confirmation and told that both him and Rock were going to go down. A few officers following them would be nice. Nezu did get 2 officers who were excellent shots, and Namamosa also a very good shot, at the end of the line to follow them down to the floor under the house. It could be a floor or an escape route, but Nezu couldn't exactly feel air rushing through the door once he opened it. If it was just a simple tunnel, then he would have been able to feel a very small breeze on his fur, but nothing was there. The small group began to descend the steps and kept their ears and eyes open for any sign of attack. The walls were made out of smooth gray bricks, looking slightly dirty but tried to keep clean because, again, this stairwell looked well used. The staircase itself was a big spiral going down, but in the middle of that spiral, one can see all the way down to the bottom, and the bottom actually wasn't that far down. It was farther down than one would expect, about 2 floors down until it finally stopped. When Nezu and his group finally reached the bottom, they were faced with a long hallway made out of the same smooth gray bricks. Nezu. He looked back to see Rock, whispered to him, but saw him holding another flashlight and the rest of the cops also holding some. They all decided it was best to have more light and gave me one of their extra flashlights. I'm pretty sure there are 2 more if needed. Nezu took stock of the 2 officers and Namamosa, who looked ready to go. He then turned around and went back to the main problem at hand, a long hallway that he truthfully can't see the end of. Their group got into the best formation they could down the corridor that could fit only one person going down at a time. He was glad he wasn't claustrophobic. Everyone continued forward on guard, and with as much caution as they could, after about a minute of walking, they finally made it to a wall-to-wall, ceiling-to-ceiling metal door that just screamed, should not be opened. Nezu was able to see it was already slightly ajar as they got closer. He put an arm out to make sure the one behind him to go a bit slower and keep your guard more. He gulped as he walked up to the door, looking around for any types of traps and not seeing any, but that didn't help his nerves. The scent of blood also doesn't help with that. Backing up until he was close enough to whisper to Rock, Nezu turned his head a bit but kept the door in his view. I smell blood, but I see no traps. Either Hisushi had traps and someone got hurt or killed by them, or there are no traps and that blood is because of something else, just so you all are warned. Rock nodded and told the others behind him while Nezu inched to the door once again. Once he was there and everyone was ready to open the door, leading to a room that smelled heavy of blood, Nezu swung the door open wide. He ran in with his metal baton and custom-made gun for his size in his hand. Oh. He stopped dead in his tracks as he looked at all the parts of the fairly large room. He heard the others running behind him, but they too stopped and made no sound at what they were seeing. It felt like hours until someone finally made any type of noise. It was the sound of heaving and then the sound of someone puking until Nezu didn't waste the time to look behind him as he feels as if he's stuck staring at this. Oh, this is a very unpleasant surprise we found. He thinks he hears another person starting to vomit and maybe someone else trying to comfort them, but he can't look away. He feels someone walk in besides him and he can hear them also trying not to gag at this disturbing thing in front of them. I didn't think they were this sick. It was the voice of Rocklock that sounded so strained and somewhat dead of all emotions. Nezu could only nod his head while he tried to gather words. You are quite right about that. Here are some endnotes memes. Nezu, I suck with emotions. Nem crying her eyes out and is just gone. Nezu, I will try my best for my pup because I know her ins and outs. Ten just sitting beside her and knowing he can't do anything but wait. This sucks butts. Nezu using his paws to his advantage. Bet you wish you had my hands now? 10. Yes I do. Nezu, looking around and finding so much stuff. Y'all are fucking blind. Me putting in subtle quirkless characters everywhere and at any corner. Yeah, some are deaf, blind, don't know about that other half though. Now, I'm doing spring cleaning then. Me. Okay. Nem. How? Nezu. I don't know yet. Nem. Please, just tell me how. Nezu. Go home, be safe in your den, and calm down from your flashback. 10 could even come with. 10. Hey, I'ma take you home. This stuff won't be awkward. The rest of the flock at the hospital, fluffy time. Nezu, and I gotta clean this bullshit. Find something really bad. Oh, for fuck's sake. Rocklock just there. Wow, that's messed up. Nezu, you are right, but shut it. Alright everyone, that is the end of chapters 13 and 14 of Learning to Adapt to the Fall. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you all soon. Bye.